brothers love you, but this pleasure is mine. There's no pressure for us to say that I love you from now. So that cup, that is one that's be comfortable now. For real, who you loving, who you wanna pull up? Who don't care who you dating, long as you care and you trust. Trying to hear all your problems so I can lighten the load. No, you not fighting alone, cause I'm protecting you from it. Chill, life hard, and ex-lovers is like scars. Cause they stop hurting, but never forgetting what it was. I wasn't young, and my biggest enemy was the club. With voicemails on third rings. So I don't trust.
Why can't you agree with me for once? Maybe we can be on chill tonight. Maybe I can give you chills. We've been on a tragedy for once. Why can't you agree with me for once? Yeah. Maybe we can be on chill tonight. Maybe I can give you chills.
Okay, they switch up on you, I'm gonna stay the same, yeah. I pull up on you, then put it in with patience. I'm good what we got it without no expectation. What good is the title when shawty been away? Yeah. Let me illustrate ya, let my tongue repaint ya. It's already wet. Have you had a brainstorm? Everywhere take you, just know that my face good. Modify your energy so your back and your skin good. Max feel, let it fly. Have you ever near a lot? Just to show you I don't care, go wear it to that house. We don't share our whereabouts, so the gossip, the hood love. Just supreme confidence, if we good, that's good enough.
We've been on a tragedy for once. Why can't you agree with me for once? Maybe we can be on chill tonight. Maybe I can give you chills. We've been on a tragedy for once. Why can't you agree with me for once? Yeah. Maybe we can be on chill tonight. Maybe I can give you chills. How about that? I'm tired of making up and falling out. Wanna be I pick your body up when you're down and out. Let's just how about that? I'm tired of making up and falling out. Wanna be the you're calling out. That pick your body up when you're down and out. Let's just we've been on a tragedy for once. Why can't you agree with me for once? Maybe we can be on chill tonight. Maybe I can give you chills. We've been on a tragedy for once. Why can't you agree with me for once? Yeah. Maybe we can be on chill tonight. Maybe I can give you chills.
Morning hustle time right now is 27 minutes after the top of the hour. Head crack, Angie, L'Oreal, Billy Sorrells. Scammers beware. I gotta say a major gas face to this one website called btoplife.com. Gas face to you. So, B-Top Life. So, I ordered some Halloween masks, so I can like have some options, for this like fake non-Halloween we just had. Guess when them joints came?
Not today.
Yesterday. Just as bad, okay? Here we are. It is November 10th, right? So, the site shows you all these amazing masks where like the mouth moved, everything looked wild, realistic. They was having a flash sale, and I'm like, hell yeah, let me get 4 of these joints. I ordered like a Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger didn't even look like Freddy Krueger. It looked like a burnt thumb, all right? The mouths are supposed to move. The mouths don't move, so you're just in the mask, suffocating. I wanted to order like this old white dude mask so I could do like street pranks. The dude looks like something's wrong with him when you put the mask on. You can go to morninghustleshow.com or Morning Hustle Show on IG in like 5 minutes to look at the comparison of what I bought versus what I thought I was getting.
Actually, I think you should try the trick or treat.
Like right now?
Oh,
Yeah.
hell no.
Yes.
Not the way you describing these joints. But can you send it back, or these are final sales?
It'll cost more to send it back than it'll cost for the whole thing, because like apparently they came from China on a canoe.
And you paid how much?
It was like $134 for like 4 masks.
Oh, hell no. Let it go.
They were on sale, but still, none of this stuff looks like how it's supposed to look. And when you put the mask on, because like the mouth holes are like so tiny, like you can't breathe. So it's almost like a Halloween COVID mask.
Are you sure it's for adults?
Definitely. My head ain't that big. Time right now is 29 minutes after the top of the hour. L'Oreal got the lowdown coming up next. What you talking about, sis?
We're going to be talking about a little girl that got a big job coming up in the low.
a shorty that don't got me on the front of a mind. Sexy when you get designed and I want it done. In the Billy cat with the wings like a number 9. Yeah, come through, just us two. I like it cause you cut how I'm cut too. Come through, just us two. I like it cause you cut how I'm cut too. Hey, she wanna with the woo. She wanna
She be saying like when you gon' fly me in private so I can land on it. She said tricks for kids, she don't fuck for tricks. She can handle her own, she just wants it. Got that big Birkin bag worth 5-6 figures. You might be out your league, can you buy that? I pull up from the top, going on the dawn, I'm the dawn. You can fuck around if you want, out in Bali. Big swing, big dress, big make a big mess. Before we done, she asked what we gonna do it next. What if she's in the jet? She like all that gangsta. Top down, riding round with the blick. Who you with? Who? She like all that gangsta. I said she like all that gangsta. She wanna. Let me take you to the candy shop. Show you all I got. I put diamonds on your chain to match your diamond ring. Hate all the love that's me. Let's turn her into something she love. Then pull triggers. I be fine when I met you. Then I left you. Cause your boo feel the same. And I don't got time to waste. She wanna with the
if you heard it here, get that glass ready. Yeah. She's spilling all the juicy tea.
If it's on the internet,
it's the lowdown with L'Oreal inside the morning hustle.
All right, 27 minutes for the top of the hour. What up with it, Lo?
Good morning. So a congratulations is in order to Miss cricket letter I, humpback I. Y'all remember that from P Valley?
Yeah.
Well, Miss Mississippi actually won Miss USA. It's not the same one, guys. So you gotta relax. But she won last night. She's a 22-year-old beautiful black woman named Aisha Branch. So congratulations to her on winning that title. Now, last night was Icon Night on Dancing with the Stars, and we said goodbye to AJ McLean of the Backstreet Boys. He was eliminated just ahead of the semifinals. I've really grown on to this show. I never thought that I would watch this, but Tyra Banks really has opened my eyes to the show, and I think she does a wonderful job. In the beginning, she was a little shaky, but everybody needs to dust it off, and she got it going now. Now, the book is an Oscar-winning short film, and it's by the name of Hair Love. Well, it seems as though they recruited royalty to narrate their book. Now, check out this familiar voice.
Dreamscape presents Hair Love by Matthew A. Cherry, narrated by Blue Ivy Carter.
Hey, Blue. I just love her. Now, allegedly, they chose Blue Ivy to do this because she was being bullied online. Remember, with her natural hair? People was always saying little slick comments about her hair. So that's why they chose to go with Blue Ivy. And of course, because she's the best little girl around, why not?
I heard Mayweather was the first choice, but...
Oh, Lord, but he couldn't get through the first stage. Okay, he was a oh, sorry. All right, so a TV series is going to be on the way as well on with HBO Max for the series Hair Love. So shout out to them. Now, also, Loretta Devine, she teases a Waiting to Exhale 2 At first, I was like, this is a little too late and I don't know what's happening. But it's supposed to be focused around the kids of the women in the movie. So I'm interested to see if they're really going to play that out. She spoke to Tamron Hall about that. Now, Melania seems like she's seeking shelter because she's reportedly cannot wait until the days and minutes dwindle down. She's counting the minutes, y'all, to the day that she can divorce.
Either, sis. We
yes,
a divorce.
But she's trying to divorce Donald Trump, so it's a little different. Now, apparently, according to Omarosa, she's saying that Melania didn't do this sooner because she was afraid of what Trump would do to her. She said if Melania were to try the ultimate humiliation and leave while he was in office, he would find another way to punish her. What do you think that means?
That she lives a very tortured life, and I don't know, she probably should escape and change her name and face.
I know, poor woman. Anyway, I don't know. Well, she married him, so she knew what she was signing up for. Also, John Gray, Pastor John Gray, he stepped down from his church, Relentless, and y'all know he was all involved in this cheating scandal. So he's basically not going to be the lead right now. He said, my life wasn't in order. Church wasn't first. My wife is, and this is my wife. He posted a picture of his wife, you know, the one that cooks pizza every night. Mm-hmm. Remember he told his mistress?
Now I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Calls.
So now, you know, he's speaking out on the whole ordeal, and I guess he's taking the time to get back in tune with himself and to focus on his family. So Billy looks upset.
He
No?
really
Okay.
lost his voice.
Oh, yeah, it's on mute, Billy. Can't hear you. I'm L'Oreal, that's the lowdown. You can follow me at Starring L'Oreal, L'Oreal, or I'm on a Hustle Shop.
All right, thank you, L'Oreal. Time right now is 23 minutes for the top of the hour. Billy Sorrells is digging into the files with a classic prank phone call coming up next. The Morning Hustle.
Wake up and smell the coffee.
Get your ass up.
Hey, you keep telling all your friends about me.
The morning hustle.
It's your apartment speaking, and I need some favors. When you're singing in the shower, just try going up a key. You're trying to be an alto when really you're a soprano. Oh, and if you could bundle your renters and car insurance with Geico, it's easy to do online, and we could save money. And then, when you read your murder mysteries at night, could you read out loud, but skip the murder parts? Because I get scared.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
Here's how we long for Skechers Arch Fit shoes.
If you've never tried Arch Fit shoes from Skechers, you're missing out on next level comfort. Saying you like comfort but not trying Arch Fit is like saying you like Italian food but you've never tried pasta. Skechers teamed up with podiatrists who used over 20 years of data to create a shoe that provides total foot and arch support for all-day comfort. Arch Fit distributes support across the arch no matter what foot type you have. You don't need an arch problem to love how they feel.
See all the styles of machine washable Arch Fit shoes now at Skechers.com. So machine washable Arch Fit shoes now at Skechers.com.
From the streets to the boardroom. Every day I'm hustling. Our swag is unmatched.
All the way fresh.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're rocking with the morning hustle.
Did you know that you can buy a car the minute that you file bankruptcy? Contact Sullivan at glakeshonda.com or 844-455-8701. I can put you on the road today with little or no money down. Great service, great people, Great Lakes Honda.
This holiday season, get cheers in a Dunkin' with drinks like the signature peppermint mocha latte and the signature gingerbread latte and snowflake sprinkled donuts. Or send a virtual cheers into a friend through the Dunkin' app by joining DD Perks and sending a Dunkin' e-gift card because we all deserve a little something special this year. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
If you don't have health insurance and you get sick or have to go to the hospital for any reason, you can wind up with huge medical bills. Open enrollment for the Health Insurance Exchange is November 1st through December 15th. During this time, insurance companies that participate in the Health Insurance Exchange allow you to sign up or make changes to your current plan.